Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome again. Welcome to another episode of An Integrated Approach with licensed therapist Dion Brown. An Integrated Approach is a monthly broadcast where we integrate various topics connecting mental health and spirituality together. So we are very excited and happy tonight to be having another episode where we'll be dealing with some very important current events around a lot of things that are going on in the world. So again, I am Dion Brown, licensed therapist here in the DMV, licensed in professional counseling, addictions, as well as trauma work. And I'm the CEO and founder of DJB Therapeutic Solutions and an associate pastor here at a church. I do a lot of work, individual work, a lot of group work around mental health, men's work, spirituality, and integrating mental health and spirituality together. So tonight we are happy that we're going to be talking about things related to topics that are really, essential and important going on in the world right now around the Delta variant anxiety, mask versus no mask, vaccination or no vaccination, and all of these things that are occurring. Now, before we go forward, we just want to issue this public disclaimer that this show represents the opinions of the host and my guests. The content should not be taken as medical advice per se, but it's very important that you check in with all of your various healthcare professionals that you see. Information shared here will be for informational purposes. And we're going to encourage everyone, whether you're looking on Facebook Live or YouTube, to respect the thoughts, the views, and the perspectives of everyone here. All right. So let's get to it. So tonight, I'm very happy to have a friend and colleague of mine joining us. She has joined us before, and she's going to be joining us again in the person. I'm going to bring her in a second, in the person of Candace Davis Hawkins. She's been a practicing clinician in the state of Maryland since 1994. She's currently a regional manager for CVS Health, where she supervises a team of nurses and social workers who offer case management services to Medicaid recipients in Maryland and Florida. And she's also the owner and operator of CDH Connections Incorporated. Candace also moonlights in the psychiatric emergency room at Johns Hopkins Bayview Hospital as a psych evaluator 2 to 3 times a month as well. She has a plethora of experience working in offices, hospitals, schools, local and federal governmental agencies as well. She's a certified life coach and also offers corporate training on a variety of topics, certified trauma therapist, and a mental health first aid trainer for children and adults. So we are very happy to have her joining us tonight as we talk about this topic. Hello there.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
All right, good. Thank you so much for joining us, for being with us. As we embark on these various topics, and our listening audience that is chiming in, feel free to post a question or comment as we go forward. But we're gonna be going forward tonight again to talk about things related to the Delta variant anxiety, spirituality, mask versus no mask, as well as vaccination. As many of you know, there's a lot of issues going on in our world right now, and there's a lot of tension, a lot of frustration, a lot of anxiety. So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, so let's just jump into it. 2020, all of us begin to experience something that we didn't deal with before in the sense of this COVID pandemic, right? We started dealing with this COVID pandemic and all that the pandemic created. And it looked like if we did what we were supposed to do and follow orders and everything, that things would kind of get back to a different sort of place or return back to a sense of normalcy, right? Or what we were thinking was normal. And now we are dealing with this issue of variants, variants. Primarily here in the U.S., the Delta variant. So let's talk about that a little bit, and look at it. Look at some anxiety that's going on around this variant. Um, Someone listening might not understand the idea or the concept of what a variant is. So for you, Candace, when you hear the word variant, what comes to your mind?
Um, it's something that's different, something that's fragmented, branches off, something close to what we were dealing with, but another version.
Yeah,
Same thing, basically, of the same thing, but a different version.
yeah, and possibly the same thing, different version that could possibly be more dangerous or more intense.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Delta variant is, what scientists and doctors are saying is definitely more intense. It's more communicable. It's easier to transmit the disease to others who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah, and yeah, and I think that's a lot of cause for concern with the anxiety and people being anxious in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, one of the things we probably ask our patients a lot of times, a scaling question. How would you rate things 0 to 10? So I was having this conversation with one of my clients recently, and I said the world is with all this happening, the world is full of a lot of tension and anxiety and worry and nervousness.
Mm-hmm.
So 0 to 10, 10 being high and 1 being low, where would you, if you had to give the world your sense of what's happening in the world right now, if you had to give the world a score on anxiety, where do you think you would probably rate things?
12.
12. Okay, wow, that's pretty large. Why 12?
Yeah, I think that it's it's almost like a pervasive like level of heightened anxiety, worry, concern that is just kind of it just doesn't go away. And you hear it in conversations that people have and text messages that you get in sessions that you have with people. It's just always there, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would definitely rate that pretty high as well. See one of my therapist colleagues, Mr. Davis. Hello there. Thanks for joining us. I think the anxiety is definitely pretty high, especially with this variant, because it again represents the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people are very panicky, very nervous, very fearful, very worried,
Mm-hmm.
and don't know what to do. Don't know what to
Right.
do.
Right. And also because people who actually have gotten the vaccine are also getting COVID, primarily the Delta variant. So it's more contagious, and
Yeah,
the illness will come on more quickly, especially for people who aren't vaccinated. For those of us who are vaccinated, we likely won't get as sick. But it's possible there are some breakthrough cases, usually with people who have pre-existing conditions that are showing, positive for COVID. Like I remember working in the hospital. There was a while there where, we would say the board would be back in March of 2020. The board was always red with people coming in, suspected of having COVID symptoms or being tested for COVID or being COVID positive. And then the board went down to very little red, and people were green, that they were coming up negative when they came in for tests, because we had to test everybody who came in to the psychiatric portion of the emergency room, because we can't place anybody unless they're COVID free, and if we have to admit them. So now I'm seeing an uptick, and the board is starting to look red again.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
concerning.
And we know generally when we talk about the word anxiety, anxiety means, fearful, I'm worried, I'm nervous, I'm panicky. And, there could be a spectrum where people can become hysterical And now, and we'll talk about this some more as we continue, but now, yes, as we're seeing vaccinated and unvaccinated people coming up positive, it's causing people to feel a lot of different things. You know, some people are feeling very, very irritated, very angry and frustrated, because it's like, you know, what in the world is going on?
I think people thought it was over.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, the one, I think one of the messages, either expressed directly or indirectly by the governing bodies that be, maybe like maybe even the CDC, was, you know, kind of once you get vaccinated, we should all be good. We should all be in the clear. And people
I mean, they were recommending that people who were vaccinated didn't need masks anymore.
Oh, I know. That happened pretty quickly. And so what happened is a lot of people, self-included, started discarding, you know, of the mask, you know, trusting the powers that be. So that's, you know, that's what made it kind of tough, because obviously they had to backtrack, because that's not the case, unfortunately.
Right. They've changed the narrative a bit more recently.
And it's the with this pandemic, it's the ever-changing narrative in some people's minds, you know. It's the ever-changing narrative that's causing a lot of the stress and the anxiety, and people like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to believe. You know, they turn on the television, one station is saying this, another station is saying this, one doctor saying this, another doctor saying this. So it's, you know, I get it. It's very, very concerning for people, for sure.
Right. But one thing that's not changing is that people are getting COVID, and people are getting very sick, and people are dying.
Thank you.
That's not changing.
That's true. That is really true. Very true. Very true. And you know what? You know, there are some people, I've seen so much happen over the last few weeks. Even when we look at our faith communities, right, and our spiritual arenas, there's a connection there between spirituality and anxiety. You know, there's some faith traditions, you know, where their building is open and they have very strong protocol set in place, like people registering, you know, temperature checks, social distancing, etc. But then there's some faith traditions and institutions who are telling people that they are living out in fear because they won't trust God to protect them from COVID. You being a spiritual person as well as I am, what do you think about that sort of mentality or mindset, that, you know, if you you know, there's some people that even tell people, unfortunately, if you get the vaccine or you wear a mask coming to church, that you're not having faith in God. So I just wanted to kind of integrate that a little bit. What are your thoughts about that?
That's very interesting to me, and I have heard that as well. But I'm pretty sure God is not telling us that He wants us to be reckless and do things irresponsibly that could put us at risk and others and die before our time. So,
all right, now,
I mean, He's ready for us. He's ready for us. But you know, I, for one, you know, hope that when it's my time, that it's not because of COVID, it's something that I could have prevented. And keeping myself and some other people safe. So for me, it's not just about me, it's about other people that I care about.
Absolutely.
And not wanting that on my kind of conscience, that I did something irresponsible that then caused somebody that I love to get sick and die.
Yep, I agree completely. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comment too here. And so, you know, it's interesting is that my church had said, you know, that people who were vaccinated, that masks were optional. I mean, they started out with, you had to register to come to church, you had to wear a mask. First of all, we were online for better part of a year. We have 2 locations, and 1 location is being renovated. So the main location is not even open, but the smaller location, they opened and said you could, back in May, and said for those of us who are vaccinated, masks are optional. And they stopped like making you register. I still ain't been back. I'm still online. And if I go, I'm absolutely wearing a mask and I am vaccinated. So
Yeah.
it's just, to me, they're not saying, have faith in God and you won't get COVID, but they are saying, I guess they're following what the CDC says. And so it'll be interesting to see, like our pastor was on summer, hiatus, sabbatical. It'll be interesting to see what he says now that he's back, if that narrative changes.
Yep. And Sean Green, his comment, some churches have told the parishioners that they want to wear a mask to church. Yes, they can't come because they don't have faith. And he said, just stupid. That is, I did see, unfortunately, I did see that online. There was a church with a big billboard that said, if you want to wear a mask in here, you don't have faith, we don't even want you to come in, which is definitely very unfortunate. So yeah, very unfortunate. So I had a client recently ask me, she said, no, you can't answer this, Mr. Brown. And she already has some levels of anxiety. She said, when is this going to be over? Wow. When is this going to go away? So,
we don't know. I mean,
right.
Really don't know. And science is saying, if you think about the Spanish flu, that was 10 years. So, science is saying that we will be in this space at least until 2024. If we don't have vaccines going to countries that are less, fortunate than the United States. You have 2% vaccination rates in some African countries. So until we start to have vaccines available to people worldwide, this is going to be a global problem. We can't just stay in our bubble. I'm one that does international travel, so I'm not, trying to stay in my bubble in the United States.
Yes,
for the next 5 to 10 years. It's just not. And economies won't be able to be sustained if they don't have, the travel industry and people coming to their countries.
And you know what, I get picked on a little bit by people in my social sphere as far as me traveling a bit in the summer, my travel schedule. However, yes, you tend to travel internationally more than I do, and I know that you recently were in, where were you? Barbados for about 2 weeks, right?
4
weeks. Wow.
Yeah, about 4, 3. This time, last time I was there for 5 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So for people listening that want to travel internationally and, want to spend some time, recreation, or even travel and do work, what is it that they can during this time frame? Because you're pretty much become a resident expert at it. What is it that you would recommend for them, the people who plan to travel, do some traveling in the next year or two internationally? Because I have my passport as well, and I'm going away in a few weeks, but I have a list of places I plan to travel to next year. Prayerfully Delta variant or no Delta variant. So what would you say? Because you've been traveling a little bit more.
So definitely it's about your comfort level and doing your research and picking places where the numbers are not very high, where they have strict protocols in place. And we landed on Barbados, and I say we because I have a whole community of friends who are there still. People, when we went to telework, it was like we can work anywhere, and people's kids were in school online, and they were like they can go to school anywhere, and people made decisions to move their families and themselves to Barbados. And it's very, very strict. Like you had to have a test before you went. And then when you get there, you have to, before people were vaccinated, you had to go into, isolation and take another test. And it wasn't until that test was clear that you could then come out of isolation and be like in the population. For vaccinated people, the wait was shorter. Like if you are not vaccinated, you had to wait 2 or 3 days before you could retest. Now, vaccinated folks can come in and test again at the airport, but you still have to go in quarantine. I'm sorry, I call it isolation. You still have to go in quarantine until your test comes back positive. Everybody wears masks. You even see people outside wearing masks. You go in the stores and they take your temperature, like Walmart, or like their equivalent to Walmart. You walk in the store, they take your temperature. They tell you they have security there. It says please sanitize your hands. So you feel safe because everybody's taking it really seriously.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So I know that every country is different.
Mhm.
I know they took it pretty serious when I was in Jamaica and we landed in the airport. That armed security officers making sure that we were sanitizing every few steps that we took, and they were not playing in that country. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's good information for people that are
The
planning
group is another good one.
travel.
That's being, vigilant too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, does it seem like, I guess with all this stuff happening, and like we were all thinking, okay, we're going to follow directions, we're going to get vaccinated, or those of us that we're willing to get vaccinated, and everything's going to be all right. But with this variant and maybe others, some people have kind of felt that we were in ways moving backwards.
And in some ways, we have. I mean, the momentum to get people vaccinated has slowed down.
Yeah.
It's political in some states, depending on what the culture and climate is there, where it's very divided. So, I mean, we don't have, and then we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have the president coming out and saying something, nationwide that needs to happen. So, still letting governors make decisions, and they're making decisions based on what folks in their state kind of want and say, and the people that vote for them.
Absolutely.
So we did kind of go backwards, because the momentum slowed down, and because of that, the variant found a way in. It kind of started. We started hearing about it in the UK, and then it got here. And as long as there are people who aren't vaccinated, this virus is going to look for a way to get in. So it's going to mutate and find a way to get in some kind of way.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. It's definitely a lot of politics that's occurring in different states. Like you said, with votes and what people want, and it's very different. Before we delve into vaccinations, let's talk about all things mask. Let's talk about all things mask. But let me bring up this comment by Sean Green again. He put, there needs to be a hard standard across the entire U.S., not every state doing what they want to do. Interesting statement. You look at spirituality, for example. We look at the Bible too. We see incidences through the Bible where people were just kind of doing their own thing, not following rulership or leadership, just trying to do anything in reference to God, their way, etc. And so we see we're seeing the manifestation of a very divided United States. Not a very United States has not presented a united front in unity against this pandemic. And so in a lot of ways, it's like the pandemic may be winning and we're losing. I hate to say this. What are your thoughts? But there probably won't be a hard standard across the entire U.S. What do you think?
No, it won't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's too many, people are talking about their rights being taken away. The people that kind of run the country with the money have a different, take on things. Yeah, money talks, and
money talks, and money matters for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about masks. There's a lot of stuff going on around masks. I mean, I'm sure you have in your individual practice as well as at work, talk with people about masks, all things masks. So, there's some people who believe that masks are effective, and some people don't think they're effective at all. So,
I mean, okay. It's a layer of protection. I mean, think about the common cold. I mean, even the common cold started to have a resurgence and come back after people stopped wearing masks, because for so long we've been walking around with masks. So if there's something between you, a layer of something between you and somebody else who's coughing and sneezing and, in your space, I don't know how you can say that's not protection. Yeah. It's not total protection. And there's different, we could get into the science of the varying degrees of mask and which ones are most effective. But bottom line is, anything that's a barrier between you and that is some protection.
Yeah, I understand. And again, for our listening audience, please feel free to comment with a question or a comment as we talk about, as we go and delve into deeper into things related to mask mandates, vaccination, anxiety, etc. Please feel free to comment or chime in. There's a huge what's the word, division across the United States, about masks, and whether people should wear them. In some, I'm sure you saw on the news recently, in some states there's contention because some parents are angry that their their local school jurisdiction is having their kid wear their mask. So some parents want their kids to go to school unmasked. So there's been rallies and etc. Let's talk locally. Let's talk locally here. We had an issue here recently in good old Baltimore City, where we live, concerning masks, where the mayor here made some statements concerning masks and mandating masks back into the city. Did you happen to see those statements? Okay. Yeah. So I think, and I'm paraphrasing here. I think anyone that's in any sort of leadership role or capacity, that there'll be people who like them and people who don't, and feel various things, etc. But I believe he said something to the effects of, if you're angry about the mask mandate being reinitiated in the city and you're not vaccinated, it's your fault. You're to blame. Shut up.
Right, I forgot about that part.
Yeah. So, obviously a statement like that ruffled some feathers, and he is the mayor. I remember even going to a local gym in the city, and there was a gentleman in front of me who started using a lot of choice words because because it was a city gym. It was located inside Baltimore City. He had to put on a mask again, etc. So, any reflections concerning the mayor's statements, as well as any reflections from our listening audience concerning the mayor's statements, Mayor of Baltimore, about masks?
He got people talking. I mean,
good.
That was his intent. He definitely got people riled up and got people talking, and this conversation happening. Placing blame, I don't know if that's the most effective way to get people motivated. But I mean, he's young and he's learning. So hopefully, he'll learn some things, but something's got to change, so.
I agree. Something does have to change. Do you think that this is going to be a domino effect soon at some point, that we will return with mask mandates here, at least in Baltimore? You think this will migrate to Baltimore County and then maybe PG County, and then
it's already in PG and Montgomery. They came back and said that there's indoor mask mandates again in those counties, and I just think the neighboring counties and the cases are highest, like in Baltimore City, PG County, and then some of the rural counties. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a domino effect eventually. I never stop wearing mine, but
I'm glad you shared that with me. I'm planning to be in the PG office working with my laptop tomorrow, so I didn't know that. I guess I'll see how the gyms are. I'll let you know how they are out there, but that's interesting.
Washington D.C. too, they have an indoor mask mandate. I don't think theirs ever stopped, actually, but yeah. And I know I was just in D.C. Yesterday, and they definitely had signs you have to wear a mask inside.
For all types of indoor places, even like restaurants, working places, facilities, everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to a restaurant. I went to a government building. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, should be interesting, definitely. So maybe there was a dropping of the mask mandates too soon. Maybe there was too soon once people got vaccinated. Let me pull up this comment here.
Yeah, I like that comment, and I think you're right too, Dwayne. I think that we're not going to shut down like we did before. That's not going to happen just because the economy can't withstand that, like you said. I think that definitely come wintertime, you will see more people staying home. Like I myself even stopped going to the grocery store as much. Like I started doing Instacart, and I still go out, but I'm very selective about the places I go, who I'm with. So I think that it's definitely, in order to keep the economy moving, they're going to have to say something. Like people are going to have to start wearing masks again inside if they want places to stay open. And now there's some restaurants that are asking for vaccination cards for you to even dine with them.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that in a second. I guess I'm glad you shared that with me. I didn't know that it started to migrate already. I actually only thought it was in the city of Baltimore. The county hasn't yet.
Not Baltimore County. I haven't seen that yet.
But PGM Montgomery.
Yeah. PGM
Okay.
Montgomery. But I think it's a matter of time before.
Yeah.
Counties. So definitely Baltimore and Howard, I think, is coming, especially because Howard just said that their school, in the school system, they're doing masks in Howard, and they want all the teachers to be vaccinated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Samantha, there are fake vaccine cards, but we really need a system like what the UK has. Like we need a digital system.
Oh yes.
That can't be faked. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That is starting to happen. But like when I was in Barbados, the prime minister said that anybody caught with and Canada's also said this for people visiting, if you have a fake vaccine card in Barbados, she said the fine is $100,000 and up to 2 years in jail. In Canada, I think the fine is $20,000 if you're caught with a fake. So like, why do it? Like, if it's too risky. It's just silly.
It's a lot. So since we're into vaccinations, let's just delve there and go. So we know that there's, I think to my knowledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's 3 types of vaccines, right? There's the Moderna, there's Pfizer, and there's Johnson & Johnson. I think Johnson & Johnson unfortunately had a recall twice. Twice, I think. Or something like that. So some people are hesitant and skeptical in that sense. There is a push all over for people to get vaccinated, but people are pretty. Thanks, Samantha. So you corrected the word. People are pretty hesitant to get vaccinated, particularly in the African American community. Generally there's a lot of hesitancy, reservations, theories, approaches. And I'm sure yourself as well as me have heard, all sorts of things, reasons, things like it's not FDA approved. And, obviously then, talking with people about in general what it takes for the FDA to approve a pen, what the process that it has to go through. And part of that process is timing, people fearful, I don't know what they're injecting into me, et cetera, et cetera. Have you encountered a lot of people hesitant to get vaccinated for one reason or another? Anxious about getting vaccinated?
Okay, definitely people were anxious and had questions, as you should. I mean, everybody should ask questions about anything you put in your body. You should follow the science and check the research and make a decision and consult with your doctor. So if you didn't do your due diligence, then I would say something was wrong. So yeah, definitely that. But most of the people that I encounter are willing to and want to be vaccinated. Kind of early on there was some hesitancy, but I think now that things have started to move in, and even some of my physician friends, vaccinating their children who are 12 and up. Yeah. Other friends anxiously awaiting, their children to turn 12 so they can get the vaccine. So yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Hello, Spin City. We see you there. And Dwayne Newman said, and they're making all state employees must get vaccinated or get tested every week. So let's talk about that. Yeah. People are feeling a lot of different ways. There's a number of places, corporate and private, who are telling their employees that they have to get vaccinated, right? That they have to get vaccinated in a certain amount of time or get tested on a regular basis. There's some that's saying, there's going to be lawsuits. I'm going to sue. It's unethical, etc.
It's no different than you have to show your vaccine record to go to school. So, I mean, you couldn't go to school unless you had a religious reason for why you weren't getting vaccinated. I mean, we are, a vaccination country. That's just what we do here. So, both my jobs have required that we have to report that we're vaccinated. And then my main job, which is CVS, is now, saying that we can't be a leader of the health in the health community and not, kind of encourage people to get vaccinated. So like, if you're going to be in the office, you have to be vaccinated. And if you choose not to, then, hopefully your job can be work at home. But if it's not, like even in the stores, they're requiring the people who have front facing positions definitely are going to have to be vaccinated. So, which makes me comfortable when you walk in a CVS store, at least the people in there are vaccinated, they're working. But
absolutely. Let me pull up this comment from Sean Green. He said they actually know and have record of who's been vaccinated and who hasn't, but we know they won't allow the information to be public record to possibly go the route of using a standardized database for all operations to use. Yeah, I think they're going to have to get some sort of digital approach.
Well, it's part of your electronic medical record. So if you, so what I will tell you is that, like, if you are, there's a central repository for the state of Maryland for the Chesapeake region that's called CRISP. Only certain people have access to it. So only medical professions, people in the medical profession were not allowed to access it. Just like I can't go look up your stuff. It has to be somebody that I'm treating, that I'm working with, that I can access their records. And I only can go places in the chart that I need to go. But like, we know every single person that is part of our health plan that's been vaccinated. And not because we paid for it, because it gets recorded. So we get the date, we get the whatever vaccine they took, the lot number, all of that comes over. So for people to think that there's not a way that they can find out, they absolutely can find out if you're vaccinated and what vaccine you had and when you had it.
And Samantha Jackson said Medicaid is allowing providers to see which clients are vaccinated.
Yeah, just not Medicaid. It's all insurance plans. Like our pharmacists can see. There's a national registry that pharmacists have access to, that they can see everybody, regardless of what your insurance is, that's gotten a vaccine. So it's not a secret.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, but HIPAA protects it, but it's not something that is a secret.
I have a few clients who don't want to get vaccinated, just generally because they don't deal with medicine or putting things into their body in general. They are more on the herbal approach and trained. So one works in the educational system, and she was suffering a lot of anxiety. The irony here is that she did not want to get vaccinated, but she was highly anxious about going to work in the school system around kids and parents. So I said, well, I mean, I don't know what to really tell you here, because your anxiety is gonna stay pretty high, especially if you're not vaccinated. But she just, she was just kind of struggling with the idea of her having to get vaccinated. But now that things are happening with I think the DC mayor is making a certain amount of employees get vaccinated, and so it's happening where people are, depending upon where they work, are going to have to get vaccinated whether they like it or not. Now I'm vaccinated. You are vaccinated. But I'm a full-time entrepreneur, so I didn't have, outside of the professional counseling board, and they didn't do this yet to my knowledge, but but I guess they could, and maybe ask for proof, but outside of the professional counseling board, I didn't have to deal with any oversight of anybody saying, hey, you need to get vaccinated by such and such a time, or else if you're going to continue to have employment here. However, one of the things we talked about, my plan to transition probably back into the office at some point soon would only be with clients who are in person vaccinated. And my clients have been telling me over the last few months if they've been vaccinated or not.
Mine too. Yeah,
I've been marking it in their chart. Yeah, so that's now. So but one of the things is, we were all told, okay, get vaccinated. Initially before vaccination, we were told, social distance, wash your hands, put on your mask. Then vaccination came around. CDC was like, okay, all right, you can take your mask off. False, right? So we know that now. We know that's not the best thing to do, especially with these variants. So let's look at this. So there are some people that make the argument, like kind of like, what's the point of vaccination now, since it looks like anybody, it looks like anybody can get COVID now, right? It looks like since I can get COVID, what's the point? I hear people say that. If I can get, whether I'm vaccinated or not, and I can get COVID or variant, what's the point of the vaccine? What are your thoughts about that?
Life or death. I mean, if we as vaccinated people, don't have a bunch of pre-existing conditions and were to get COVID, that we might not even have any symptoms or very mild symptoms, and definitely not end up on a ventilator and die. So that's what I say. I mean, like, you don't want to die, right? So like maybe you should do something that can protect you on some level from something.
But can I just pray and trust God only?
You should pray and trust God, period, and get a vaccine.
I like that. So faith and science.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
So spirituality and taking workable steps. Faith without works, because faith without works is dead, right? So I have to do both. Oh, let me see what this comment.
I mean, we talk about that just in terms of like therapy and faith. Like
absolutely.
Like I say to people that God gave me this gift. So this is something that I'm supposed to share with people. Like, this is my purpose, and this is something that He has entrusted me with. So, I'm sorry. That's just
so I can
me. So
I can have faith. I can have faith in God. I can have faith in God. Get vaccinated and wear my mask.
Absolutely.
They can all work together. It doesn't have to be exclusive.
The greater good. Absolutely.
Because He gives us wisdom. Perfect. He gives us wisdom is the principal thing. Now, Sean Green said
discernment. Yeah, like all of that. Like
good, right? Discernment.
Yeah.
I understand people are skeptical to get vaccinated, but look at how many immunization
shots. Okay.
We had to tend to, that are required today. People don't know what's in those vaccines. Facts. We don't know what's in half the stuff we consume. That's food too. We just trust God and keep it moving.
Yeah, I had to get I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm up there. And so when I went to the doctor for a physical, she told me that I needed to get the diphtheria, the DDTP booster at 50. She told me I needed the shot again that I got when I was like 3. You know what I mean? So, vaccines that don't last forever, but
absolutely. So I could be. So wait. So we're saying I'm about to do a disclosure here, Candace. You already know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
I could be vaccinated fully, and I could still get COVID.
Absolutely.
Really? So, I am one of those people who would be classified as a breakthrough case, in that I was fully vaccinated in March, and I contracted COVID at the end of June after I went to the West Coast, to the wonderful city of Las Vegas. And I was reckless. Vegas was open. It was hot, but it was a great time. I was reckless, hardly wore masks. Vegas was packed with people. There were people everywhere in the casinos, and smoke and air circulating. And the group of us, we only really wore our masks when we were in and out of Ubers, but during the daytime and evening times in indoor establishments, we didn't wear our masks. I came back to the East Coast, and the day before leaving, I had cold and congestion symptoms going on. And then when I came back, I had an unusual tiredness the following day, where I was sleeping for I took 4 naps in addition to the cold and congestion symptoms. And then the next day I was feeling a little weird. Went to patient first on a Tuesday morning. They took my temperature. I told them I was on the West Coast. I was having symptoms. They said, "Oh, you have a fever." I never get sick. Never, ever. Thank God. I hardly ever get sick. Can't tell you when the last time I had a fever, maybe decades ago. So my fever was pretty high. And so they did a rapid. They said, we're going to do a rapid test. If the rapid comes back negative, we're going to do a PCR because you're having symptoms. They did that rapid test and they came back. They said, sir, yep, you're right. It's COVID. It's COVID. So I was fully vaccinated March, like I said, March of this year, early March of this year. But I contracted COVID when I went to the West Coast. I did not do my due diligence and check at that point the COVID positivity rate or the vaccination rate for Nevada, and probably got exposed to a variant. I'm not sure, but I'm very thankful that through the power of prayer and science, let me say it again, through the power of prayer and science, I talked to my primary care doctor. I talked with my naturopathic doctor the 10 days that I had to isolate in the house. And they told me what to do. And literally within about 3.5, 4 days, I started to snap back to normal. So it seemed like the vaccination in me did what it was supposed to do. I do have a ongoing, annoying, periodic, long-term symptom of like a occasional cough, but nothing intense. So I'm grateful about that. But I am an example of a breakthrough case in that I was fully vaccinated. And I'm going to be talking about this all week on my channel. So this is my first time giving a public disclosure. I was fully vaccinated in March. And through I'm going to take ownership, through some of my own reckless behavior in Las Vegas, and what's done in Vegas stays there. But through my own reckless behavior, I contracted COVID in late June. So I'm glad to be here talking about it. And I think it we hit it on the nail. Who knows, the outcome for me could have been different had I not been vaccinated.
Absolutely. And it also goes to show, like, you really have to be selective about where you go, places that you go and travel to. Like, there's some states that I will not go to. Like, I'm not going to Florida. I'm not going to Missouri. I'm not going to Nevada. Like, I'm just not. They tell you don't go. And they even say it's like the top. And Louisiana is another state they're saying you really shouldn't visit right now. So, we have a really high level of vaccination in this state. We have low cases, but I mean, we're back to getting like 1,000 cases a day. So yeah, you can't stay in the house. You got to live life. And I encourage everybody to live life, but you got to live life safely. So how do you do that? You get a vaccine. Yeah. You might not, you might get sick, but you probably won't die if you do get sick. And you got to be smart about the places that you go and the people that you're with and the things that you do.
Absolutely. And again, for me, because I wasn't shocked that I came down with COVID, because I knew where I was and I knew what I was doing and what I wasn't doing.
I read you was in the club.
I'm not even going there right now. But even there was an outdoor pool event that we all were at that had hundreds of people. Wow. And so with it being hot, you jump in the pool, you're near other people you don't know. Who knows? So who knows how? But I'm very grateful that the combination for me of prayer, my own walk with God, spirituality, and trusting the science all work together. Talking with my primary care and my naturopathic doctor, who sent me something for my immune system and told me how to regulate my vitamin C, D, and zinc at that time. So it all worked together for my good. It all worked together for my good. I still want to go. I want to go back to Vegas at some point, though, but not right now. Not right now.
2 years from now.
Right now, yeah.
But like even like thinking about like it's supposed to be homecoming season, and I went to the Howard University, so homecoming for us is like
absolutely.
All the things. And it's set for October the 23rd. I'm not going. And I very rarely miss homecoming because I know what Georgia Avenue is going to look like. I know, and I love my people, but they will not see me this year. Homecoming is not going anywhere, and I can go another year.
You guys, homecoming is the talk of the town. It's serious.
It's serious. Like, we live for that. Like 30 years later, we're like, where are you going? Homecoming? No, not this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not for me.
Yeah. Dwayne said I was in a COVID pool, probably. Yeah, you're probably right. That's good.
Yeah.
It was like four. Actually, it was like 4 or 5 of them pools, so it was huge area. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. Thank God I survived. I'm still here. So so the chances of, some people are anxious about getting vaccinated, but then if you're not vaccinated, you contract COVID or this variant. That's going to be a heightened level of anxiety because your chances are not as great if you have no protection in your system at all. So I'm glad that I had some protection. This A.O. Thomas said I canceled in-person attendance to 2 conferences in Florida. Good for you. As much as I love Florida, Miami, especially South Beach, I'm gonna have to take a pause because Florida is off the charts.
Yeah.
Good for you, sis. I'm glad you made that decision. That was definitely applying the wisdom of God for sure. So good stuff. So vaccinated. Some people are vaccinated, some people are unvaccinated. Now, in the air, in the atmosphere, does it seem like, there's kind of like maybe a battle or a war, or even maybe some of our media outlets are creating a scenario of like the vaccinated against the unvaccinated? What do you think?
In some respects, I think so.
Yeah.
And it's disheartening to see that they're doing that and dividing things, but yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. I have clients and other people that I know aren't vaccinated for various purposes and reasons. Unless their job makes them or is requiring it, I respect their decision, their choice. So let me say this too. So there are 2 reasons that I know of that people, even with these work-related mandates, or whatever type of mandates, people may be under. There's 2 reasons people can qualify to have an exemption: a religious exemption as well as a medical exemption. So there are some people, I think, medically, maybe after talking to their primary care doctor, maybe they've said to this person, it's not a good idea that you get the vaccine, or not a good idea that you get this vaccine right now. So that's one thing. Believe it or not, I was away. I was away with my sister, and individual in my family text me to ask me if I would fill out forms for them, granting them a religious exemption from getting the vaccine, because they did not want to go get the vaccine. It was a requirement for their move-in date on campus.
Wait a minute. What kind of religious exemption can Christians get?
Let me tell you. I looked at my phone, and my phone looked at me, and I said, help me not to throw this phone. I could, yeah. So first, so I'm obviously, as a person who has been fully vaccinated and been following the science and talking to professionals and talking to a number of personal MDs as well. I'm pro vaccination, right? I am pro vaccination. And I'm also pro-vaccination because, I believe, in addition to the power of prayer, that my symptoms were, I'm about to shout, my symptoms were minimal because of the prayer and science, vaccination and prayer.
Right.
So
don't your iPhone, Sean. That's funny.
He's right. My new iPhone is that. My new iPhone. So I was very nice and polite, and I said, well, first of all, I'm pro-vaccination. I said, secondly, I think the vaccination helped me when I contracted COVID after vaccination. Thirdly, I'm not your pastor. Do you even go to church anywhere? That's what I was wondering. Okay, that was another thing. No, I didn't say that part, but
right.
That would have been my petty side, but I pulled that back in. But I told the individual, I said, I can't think of any. I cannot conceive conceptually of any spiritual or religious reason to put down on your forms and sign my name in any of my roles or capacities as an associate pastor of a church or as a mental health professional, putting my name down on a document saying that you should be exempt. No.
Right.
But that was a no. That was a
As
no.
it should have been, yeah.
No. Yeah, that was a no. I was like, no. Number of comments. Alicia Sneed says she's immunocompromised and planning to get the booster.
Good
God,
for you. Yeah, I have a friend who is too, and I'm hoping and encouraging them to do that. And as soon as if they say I'm supposed to get a booster and I can get one, I'm right there.
I will too.
Booster shot.
I will too. AU Thomas, let me pull it up. She said, yes, same as the flu. Some religions, Jehovah Witnesses receive.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Dwayne said yes. Dwayne Newman said yes. I think some are not because they feel like they're being forced, and you know how people are when they're being forced to do something that will go against anything they feel they're being forced to do. True.
That's your choice. You know, I hope it doesn't turn out.
Yeah,
for you, but yeah, I know lots of some jobs are requiring it. So
yeah. Yep. Alicia said, "Don't come for their on and off Jesus, Brown." That's what was happening.
Right.
A.U. Thomas said some religions don't believe in it. Yeah, there was, but I guess being a Christian, there was nothing from a Judeo-Christian perspective that I think that would even come close to saying you can't be vaccinated or I should fill out your form. So that was a hard no. That was a hard no. So absolutely. So again, for me, I'm grateful that just in a sense of integration, being a spiritual man, that I decided to get vaccinated. I actually talked to my primary care doctor at the beginning of this year. I scheduled a virtual call, and I said, what do you think? And I encourage all my clients who are hesitant. I say, go talk to your primary care doctor. Mine's been following me for 13 years. I trust him a lot. And he said, you're African American and you have a little bit of weight. I said, sir, did you just call me fat? Like, yeah. He said, he said, when it becomes available, run and get it. Yeah. He said, because the chances, and I'm glad I listened. He said the chances if you contract COVID, and he knew when I told him when I contract COVID, you'll do a lot better. I didn't get COVID at all in 2020. But when the world kind of opened up and I left and went to the West Coast, and again, I was reckless. I didn't go to the West Coast and was very safe and protective. I was just out living life like there was no pandemic. Mm-hmm. And again, I think I'm not alone in that. I think part of it, unfortunately, was part of the CDC telling everybody that you can take your mask off.
Right. Too soon. They said even Dr. Fauci had to backtrack, that's my man. So he said, when somebody asked him straight out, he didn't want to go against what the CDC was saying. So he was very, selective about how he said what he said. But he said, what I'm going to say to you is that if you go places where the vaccination rate is really low and there's a high incidence of cases, vaccinated or unvaccinated, I would put on my mask to go inside. Mm-hmm. He said that. So he's like, you can make a choice, but, scientifically, that was what his suggestion was. So
absolutely. And Dwayne said that's why he got it. His primary doctor suggested. Yes. So everyone listening, again, talk to your primary care doctor if you are undecided, if you're on the fence concerning getting vaccinated, as well as those of you that may see this or view this at a later time. We are winding down a little bit. I just have a few more things that I want to mention. Right now, the world is, because of all of this contention and confusion and mask versus no mask, and I don't like it. You shouldn't make me. You shouldn't force me. I'm gonna sue you. Some people have even been threatened. Some political people have been threatened. If you make me get vaccinated, you're taking away my. The world isn't like and anxiety and anger. I have a few, but any tools or tips that you would give anyone listening that is anxious or have anger with all this stuff happening around us in the macro system?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to ask yourself the question, why? Get to the source of why you're feeling so anxious and what you're really angry about, and try to separate it from what the facts are. See if it really is valid, what you're thinking and feeling. Talk to people about it for sure, and make an informed choice. I don't think, I don't want to tell people that they should be anxious, but you should be concerned. You should be vigilant, sorry. And you should be a little worried. But you don't want to work yourself up when there are solutions out there. You can decide, put on a mask and, socially distance and, sanitize your hands and make decisions about who you keep company with and where you go, and get a vaccine if it's the right thing for you.
Absolutely. And if all of this stuff is causing you a lot of tension and concern and worry, one of the things that I share with my clients, stay informed, but maybe decrease some of your time, your social media time, and some of your media time.
Right. Because that's what I'm going to say. Be informed, but be careful about where you get your news from.
That's good.
Like, you need to get it from a valid source. Looking in newspapers like New York Times, or newspapers that are not like TMZ or places like that, because they're creating like this culture of fear on Facebook, on Instagram, like all of that. That's not always fact-based. So you really need to get the facts.
Absolutely. Get the facts, stay informed, but monitor how much you intake into your system. Guard, in church, we say guarding your gates, right? So be aware of how much stuff you take in, because it can really offset you. I had a female client recently. She said, Dr. Brown, she knows I'm not a doctor yet, probably in the future, but she said, Dr. Brown, I'm so anxious lately, and I don't know why, I don't know what's going on. And I was like, how much news are you looking at? Oh, it's on playing in my house every day, all day, every day. Oh, there you go. Let's start there. Let's start decreasing, check in a few times, but decrease the amount that you're taking in. You're angry, anxious, do some deep breathing, do some sort of exercise, as well as, it's perfectly fine and healthy for you to find a licensed professional to sit down and talk to process some of that stuff. So where do we go from here? Do you think, like, masks forever, vaccinations yearly, boosters?
I mean, time will tell and science will tell. I mean, I told you what the epidemiologist at work said when she was on a call. She said she will never fly again without a mask, no matter what. Just because this is nasty. You know what I mean? Like, you think about like the air and recycling and all that. Like, I'm with her. Like, I might always fly with a mask on from now on out, no matter what.
I don't know if we'll have I see your comment, April Allen. I'm coming. I don't know if we'll have a choice for a while, at least, as far as flying with a mask on. Briefly, speaking of flying with a mask on, you all, you've seen unfortunately, these fights breaking out on airlines, and some unfortunately, if you fly, thank God I've been on 4 planes and there's been no incidents. I've went up and came down, no problems, etc. No passenger issues, but there's been problems with passengers, anger and anxiety. I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. Why are you gonna, personalization? COVID is a big group project, and we're failing as a group, with the U.S. at least. It's a big group because, with a group project, people come together, they rally, and they get things done together and collectively, and they succeed and pass. But, so that's a problem. So let me see.
I'm looking at April's comment, and, this is very different from the flu, and this is very different from the flu shot.
Yeah,
I'm not here to harass you, and I won't do that. But I would just encourage you to ask yourself why, and really get all the information you can and make a decision. The flu shot is very different from this, and getting the flu is very different from getting COVID. I mean, some people do die from the flu, but it's pretty rare. But a lot of people are dying from COVID, and I would hate for anybody that I have any contact with to be in that number.
Yeah. So, and I will say, April, again, I would encourage you to talk thoroughly with your primary care doctor if you trust him or her. about the pros and cons and risk of you in getting vaccinated. So what you can say to people who harass you about getting vaccinated, and I see Lori Jetter made another comment about that, is to just you could share with them that you're working that out, discussing that with your primary care doctor, and that's it. That's your unless your place of employment is making it mandatory, you don't have to worry about that. Then that's your own private, personal medical choice and decision. And people should I know the world we live in. People should be respectful of that. So and
right.
Lord Judge doesn't like that.
There's something unnatural about us as a people being separated and not being able to commune and touch each other and feel like it's okay. You think about like the energy that you get from people just by being in their space. And Zoom is cool, but it's not the same thing. Like I just recently saw friends I hadn't seen in years, like 2 years, some of my friends. And we're both vaccinated, very safe in our practices, and we just sat and talked for hours, just hours, and hugged one another. And it felt really good. And I don't want us to have to live like this forever. It's just not natural.
Yeah, absolutely. Candace, I think there's a way for you. Are you able to put in a comment in the comment box? Will it allow you to type in?
I don't know. Maybe not as a co-presenter. I don't think so. I can see the comments, but I can't type. What did you want me to put in there? I can't. What do you want me to say?
Okay, no problem. Well, if you could just share with people how they can reach you, how they can connect with you.
I have a website, CDH is my initials, connections with an S on the end.com. And then there's a contact form there that will go straight to my email, but my email is my first name, Candace, at cdhconnections.com. And it's got all my contact information on the website.
And Connections is with 2 N's?
Yes, and an S on the end, yes.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm able to comment, put it in the comment box. So I want to thank you for joining us for this important discussion as we talked about the Delta variant anxiety, spirituality, mask mandates, and vaccination. Thank you all to our listening audience. This broadcast, An Integrated Approach, will be streaming every third Sunday at 7 p.m. on Facebook, as well as my YouTube channel. We'll be streaming both places. So you can follow me here. You can follow me on IG, _DMV therapist, and YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll get notified each time when this monthly broadcast on the third Sunday at 7 p.m. loads. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, DMV therapist, I want to thank you all for joining us again for another episode of An Integrated Approach, where we integrate various topics around mental health and spirituality. And I pray that this informational session has proven to be useful for you. Like, share on Facebook and YouTube with friends and family, and have a wonderful evening until we have this broadcast next month. Take care.
Be well, everyone. Be safe and be blessed.
Amen. Good night.
Good night.